Good afternoon, YouTube. Today I'm going to be talking about my new cold air intake from DC Sports for my 2007 2.4 liter Mitsubishi Eclipse. So the first thing, the bracket here that is designed to mount to your frame, I believe, is not the most effective way in which it's not a bolt-on way, let's put it like that. This is the only thing that they provided for me in the box to lock this thing in place, and there's at least a gap of say 2.5 to 3 inches between this bracket and my frame, or this mount and my frame. So I will require some kind of special bracket that I'll have to rig up in order to keep this thing mounted on the frame and not touching my transmission as it is now. I won't be leaving like this for long because I'll get something in here, maybe something spongy, something harder that will be able to take the impact, because of course when we're driving, this thing will knock back and forth and it will cause damage to the pipe, which I don't want. So for those of you thinking of purchasing, for me this was not a direct bolt-on item. Another thing that I know you people would like to know about is how does this thing interact with somebody that has fog lamps. So if you'll just have a look here, I used to have a bumper that had fog lamps in it, but it was severely damaged, so I got this new bumper which doesn't. Now I have the original fogs here that I took out before I got rid of it, and from those of you who know, it'll protrude, pardon me, it'll protrude something like that when they mount in place, because like, I mean, this lines up there, right? So it's basically flush, and there's not a lot of room to work in here really. If you'll take a look here on the bottom, this is where the inner fender mounts up to the bottom, and it comes up like that. So when the air filter is in, and it's not a really small filter, when it's in, there isn't a lot of space to move here. And I mean, it would work on factory fogs, just because the way that the cable is rigged here, it's just off to the side, so it will work, but it'll be tight. I like things to be a little bit more open, just because like I may even in time put some kind of a hole or slits in that light right there, just to give access a little bit better to the intake, but I don't want water coming in there, so like that's a problem. But the reason I replaced my intake wasn't just because of like the so-called horsepower gain, but actually this piece was cracked. I don't know if you can see it right there, but it's cracked all the way through, and actually I do believe it was permitting a little bit of dust to get past the filter. So nevertheless, it was cheaper to buy the intake than it was to replace the entire box, and I wouldn't anyway, because I feel that this is a rather inefficient system. There's a lot of crevices and places for the air to be rerouted and moved, rather than this simple and direct way in which air can come from the outside to the throttle body. It's a long pipe, but like, it's much more direct. And I've already tested this thing out, and like, the acceleration is noticeable, and obviously because it can get air that much easier. So let me just think for a moment. There's a few more things I wanted to tell you about. Again, I recommend that you do remove your bumper for access of work, and of course you'll have to remove your factory air box. that's there's some brackets that hold up to the throttle body, up to this piece here, which I've removed now. They're all 10mm bolts. You get a couple of nice little Allen key screws from DC to put your MAF in, and I recommend you do that right away before you do anything else. So take your MAF off the factory airbox and stick it on this thing. It has plastic and everything covering it, so it protects the MAF from contamination. And then I recommend that you just fish the pipe through and then put the filter on afterwards, and check and make sure that there's no contamination, I guess you could say. Like, double check the pipes for anything, double check the inside of the filter for contamination. And you have these beautiful little clamps here. They're 8mm, so 2 on each rubber coupling. Basically, you slide the pipe in as far as it'll go, and you bolt this thing up. It's a very, very simple install. And the pipe to me, pardon me, the filter to me actually looks like pretty good quality. It's styrofoam, or no, actually it's hard plastic, so that's good. Apparently these things are rewashable and reusable. In time, if I don't like the performance, I'll replace it with some other air intake, but it's brand new now, so we'll see how long it lasts. And of course they're bolted right up to the pipe with 2 of those nice clamps, 8mm. But like I said, the acceleration was noticeable. I wouldn't say that there's, whatever they were claiming, 15 more horsepower or anything like that, but you know, it's definitely more noticeable. So I'd like to thank you for watching, and I hope this video was helpful. Bye bye.